What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Rust and Restoration Garage. Today we're going to be working on the C10 again. I got a blinker cam shut-off switch to put into it. Also controls the horn. Be a short, quick video, but I'll give you a show around of what I've done to the motor and transmission I swapped into it over the summer, and show you what I've done with that, and then we'll get into pulling the steering wheel off and getting that switch replaced. Anyways, we'll get to it. Okay, so over the summer I put a 305 out of a 92 Chev into this. I took the throttle body intake off and the old intake for the carburetor. The two bolts that are on the inside, there's 4 on each side. These two you got to cut slots into the intake. I don't know how well you can see that. There's a gasket maker all around there. I just mashed it in there. You just cut slots in those, and then the carb intake bolts right on. All the accessories I took off the original motor, so it's got the 2 belts instead of the 1 single belt. And the fuel pump, mechanical fuel pump on it. If you could see in there, my light here. Fuel pump there. The motor out of the 92 comes with a block off plate. So all you got to do is just take that plate off and then bolt your fuel pump on and put the rod inside the motor so it'll run the pump. Got a set of headers for free thanks to my friend's grandfather. And the distributor, everything drops right in. Everything's pretty well the same other than sensors that are in this motor that I don't need for this truck, so I just left them in there. And then for under the transmission, I got a 700 R4 that came in the truck. I just made my own shifter straight off the transmission, but what I'm gonna do is put a bench seat in here out of that 92. I got new seat belts because these ones suck, hate them. But what I'm gonna do once you get the bench seat in, I'm gonna make a shifter here, custom shifter that I want to make, and hook it up to the transmission. Other than that, everything seems to work good. It's got an automatic choke on it that I absolutely hate, so I'm going to put a manual choke into this truck. It came with it when my dad bought it a few years ago, but it wasn't hooked up properly, so he bought a new carb with the choke all hooked up. So he just put the automatic one on. But anyways, we'll get into the truck and start taking the steering wheel out and get this switch replaced. Anyways, we'll see you in the truck. Okay, so I'll start by getting the horn button off. Screwdriver or whatever. Pop that off. And then I got my breaker bar. I believe it's 7/8. Not really on there the tightest. But once you get that off, I wouldn't take the nut off all the way. There is a puller you can get for the steering wheel, but I don't have one of those, so just beat on it a bit. Do it the wrong way, really, but there, once it's loose, then you can take the nut off. Pop the steering wheel off. Alright, so this is usually a nightmare. I just got a flathead, a couple pick tools. The hardest part's trying to hold this in and get this off. Okay, apparently the horn works now. Okay, once you get that snap ring out of the little groove there, picking it out until you get it off. It's a lot better to have the proper tools, but work with what you got. Alright, a little snap ring just sits in a ring on here. And then the steering wheel lock plate thing, whatever you want to call it, just comes out. Only goes on one way because it's got a master spline in there. Probably can't see it in the camera with this terrible lighting, but it only goes on one way. So once you get that off, I will get the new switch and bring it in and tighten this one screw that's loose, and we'll get it put in there and get it back together. Okay, so I got the new one, got the pieces in it. The new one doesn't come with the spring for the horn button. Just make sure if you are replacing this or whatever, you don't throw that stuff out. It's just a little plastic piece that holds it into this groove and then a spring inside of it. Give that a turn. And then you get this put in the right way. Alright, now once that's in, should be able to, you gotta shove all this back in and put that snap ring back on. Once again, a lot easier if you got the right tools. And if you put it on the right way. Okay, so that's in. Get the steering wheel back on. Now the best way, obviously, get this cup out of here, and then you can line up the horn button pin with that. So we'll get the screws out of this. Okay, get that off. A little washer thing here. Get that off. Probably a good idea to unhook the battery so you don't have that problem. So I'm gonna go do that now. Alright, so we got the steering wheel pushed on. The line back up. Unhook the battery so then you don't keep pushing the horn constantly. Because that's annoying and it keeps scaring you and then you start crying and then it just takes longer to get done. Anyways, we'll get this back together. Pretty simple. The ring goes on there, which pushes the horn. Then we will get this hooked back on. Just like that. This does go one way. There is a keyway in there which hooks into the horn button, which is facing down the bottom of the steering wheel. Anyways, get these 3 screws in. Now before I tighten everything down, I'm going to hook the battery up and make sure the horn's not constantly on. Okay, leave the battery unhooked for putting this back on. And this, I just tighten it up to whatever feels good, 3 Newton meters or something. Us Canadians are supposed to call it, something like that. That works good enough, it's not going to fall off. Get the horn button back on. And we'll make sure it works. There, now I finally have a horn. Anyways, the biggest thing was the signal light's not shutting off on their own, so I'm gonna start the truck up. See if that'll work. Alright, I'll get this all cleaned up. So that'll be the end of this video. Anyways, hopefully it helped somebody out. It's short, quick, just something that I wanted to get done today. Anyways, if you liked it, give it a thumbs up, maybe subscribe. We got quite a bit more to do to this. Like I was saying, bench seat, shifter, all kinds of stuff really. It just depends on the money. But we got stuff to do with the Sonoma. And anyways, that'll be the end of this one, and we'll see you in the next.